to arts and entertainment now, and today Stephen Shandorf takes us on a trip back in time with a renowned author, musicologist, and museum keeper, Professor John Collins, who's going to take us through a history of highlife music here in Ghana.
The genre dates as far back as the late 19th century from a blend of three elements: the African, the European, and the New World music of the black diaspora.
History of highlife from the 1880s, even before the word highlife was invented. So these are just, this for instance shows that African music went in the days of slavery to America, and then some of the black American music came back to Africa and influence, like hip-hop. Today, hip-hop is coming back. It's become hip life, or reggae has come back. But it actually, this goes back to forms of, for instance, calypso music, which is from Trinidad. It's a black American music, or black Caribbean music from Trinidad, was actually found its way to Ghana in the 1870s.
According to Professor Collins, the first known form could be seen in the local Adaha brass band music played in the 1880s on the Fanti coast, located in the south of modern Ghana. This was the legacy left by the regimental bands of 6,000 West Indian soldiers who had been stationed at the Cape Coast and Elmina castles by the British colonial administration.
The British brought 5,000 West Indian soldiers to Cape Coast to help the British fight the Ashantis. And the reason the British brought troops from the black West Indies is that this country was known as the white man's grave. And white men, or women for that matter, they didn't live very long in Ghana before they had anti-malarial drugs. Most whites died here within 2 years. Even if you go up into the cemeteries up in Aburi or Akrapong, you'll find that most of the white missionaries only lived for 2 years. And so the same applies to white soldiers. However strong you are, malaria will bring you down. So when the British were bringing their troops from Britain and so on, by the time they got to Kumasi to fight the Ashantis, they were already weak from malaria. So what the British did is they brought West Indian soldiers who are tropicalized. They have the sickle fact. Yeah. And so around about 5,000 West Indians were located in Cape Coast and Elmina, and they brought calypso music with them. And the Ghanaians got very excited because the British had trained them to play brass band music, but in European time. And suddenly these black troops from the West Indies are playing in Afro-Caribbean time, which is similar to African time, syncopated rhythms and so on. So this helped trigger off the earliest form of highlife, which is when in fact, what happened is the Ghanaians first of all copied the West Indians, like this song, Everybody Likes Saturday Night, which everybody knows is an old highlife, right? It's actually, the melody is a calypso, and the Ghanaians hijacked it. And then, after copying the West Indians for about 10 years, the Ghanaians realized that, well, why don't they just draw on their own resources, their own melodies, their own rhythms, and they created Adaha music, and that's the earliest form of highlife.
The musicologist revealed that Adaha music spread like wildfire throughout southern Ghana. In the small towns and villages that could not afford expensive brass band instruments, a poor man's drum and voice version called kokonma developed in the 1930s and spread as far as Nigeria. The second form of highlife in his account was Fanti Osibisaba music, in which local percussion instruments were accompanied by guitars and accordions of sailors, particularly the crew seamen from Liberia. Between the 1920s and 1940s, many records of the early guitar highlife styles of Jacob Sam, Kwame Asari, Miracle, and Apia Ajekum were released by Western record companies such as Zonophone, Columbia, Odeon, and HMV, all based in Ghana. The third type of highlife evolved from the large ballroom and ragtime dance orchestras formed from 1914. Like the Exclusio Orchestra and Jazz Kings of Accra, the Winnipeg Orchestra, the Raga Jaspo Orchestra, and the Sugar Babes of Cape Coast, and the Ashanti and Kramo Orchestra. It was from this elitist form that the name highlife was coined in the mid-1920s by the poor people gathered around the high-class dancing clubs when they had local street songs being orchestrated.
Highlife is 135 years old. It's hard to believe, actually. It's as old as jazz, if not older. One would say that highlife is a blend of African music with Western instruments, Western harmonies. But the magic ingredient, the critical ingredient, is the Black American influence.
The professor of music of the University of Ghana urged contemporary highlife musicians and students to see the business potential of highlife music and package it attractively for both the local and international market in order to benefit from their creativity.